So the big question is Tiangong-1. Why do we have so much negative press, given that it was a successful space station? And it's certainly not the first space station to fall to ground. Salyut 1 did it in 71, Skylab in 79, and Salyut 7 in 91. And these are the other two spacefaring powers of America and Russia, and they've all had early space stations drop out of the sky. So I don't see that there's anything particularly unusual about Tiangong-1. That's for starters. Now, it did actually achieve quite a bit. It had two manned missions, one lasting about 10 days and the other lasting about 15 days. It also had China's first woman in space, Liu Yang, and that was in 2012, and this is a picture of her in space. So I present to you Kerbal Space Program Tiangong-1 mission. So we're going to sort of copy their mission a little bit. This brings us to the design of our Kerbal Tiangong-1 station. And I simply looked at the web and got some pictures, see what I could find out about it, and this is what I came up with. Science lab, obviously. Tiangong-1 has science lab. Solar cells. Service and communication module, in our case represented by just a fuel tank, a bit sad. Capacity for 3 humans in Tiangong-1 and 4 Kerbals in the version I've given you. You could reduce it by carefully selecting different parts, I guess. And docking ports at both ends, so that you can connect either way. And the Chinese docking ports are very much like the Kerbal ones, universal. RCS system. Yeah, RCS system, that's about all you need, and that's our spacecraft. Okay, so we have our rocket. This is the Long March 2F. 4 solid fuel boosters, a reasonably solid stack, and a second stage with just a little bit of delta V to take us into the orbit we want, and the space station and a fairing. So very traditional design for Kerbal. We need to launch. Of course, we're going to need a staging sequence that works. And there we go. And there we go. So we're on our way. Let's start a bit of a turn. Yet past the Kármán line. Coming up on the Kármán line, we're through the Kármán line, and let's pause there and let our system catch up. So heading to orbit. So we just need to do a stage separation, highly traditional stage separation, and fairing deployment. So there we go. It's getting away on me a bit. Okay, we should soon have a nice stable orbit. And there we are in a nice stable orbit, so we now have that. There's one thing we must do, of course, critically important. We must rename the vessel so it looks like a space station. So when I see it, it looks like a space station, which is good. So we're now in orbit. Now it turns out that the Tiangong station actually did have a slight inclination. So I'm going to just push a little bit of an inclination on it. I've got about 100 delta V to do that with, a couple of hundred delta V to do that with. So we'll do that. Just put a bit of an inclination on there. I'll just go for a few degrees. The actual one had an inclination of 40 degrees, which is actually quite a lot. It's not quite a polar orbit, but it's quite a steep inclination. So let's call it done there, Tiangong-1. And the other thing is that the height at which it orbited was about 200 kilometers, which is roughly twice the Kármán line. And here in Kerbal, the Kármán line's at 70 kilometers, so we would take it up to 140 or thereabouts. So we're going to whip round to here, and then we're going to push the orbit out to about 140. So that's sort of a similar mission profile to the actual Tiangong station. Okay, that's our station pretty much in our target orbit, just below the twice the Kármán line. In Kerbal, that's a completely stable orbit, it'll stay there forever, but in practice around the Earth there is a very thin atmosphere and things do actually slow down slightly, and so an orbit at twice the Kármán line does actually very slowly decay. Okay, we need to prepare our station for its visitors, so we must extend the solar panels, establish communications, and kick off the booster. Now when we kick off the booster, it's going to stay in orbit with us if we're not careful, so we're going to just do a small maneuver to get ourselves clear of the boosters. Just a little push to get the boosters clear. I use one mod and it's Kerbal Flight Engineer Redux. I don't use a lot of mods. I think stock is really nice because that means you get upgrades and things don't all go to hell in a handbag. So there we are, we have our Kerbal space station, Tiangong-1. Now we need a crew, so we must head back to the Cosmodrome to get a crew.